toast. Excuse. So the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And today we have some proclamation to read, and Becca has one.
Hello.
Hello. Nice to see you. Nice to see you. And we are going to read the proclamation in recognition of Sexual Assault Awareness Month. So whereas Sexual Assault Awareness Month is intended to draw attention to the fact that sexual violence can be widespread and impacts many people in our community, and where every day men, women, and children suffer the pain and trauma of sexual assault. This crime occurs too frequently, goes unreported far too often, and leaves long-lasting physical and emotional scars. And whereas over 2/3 of sexual assault are committed by someone who was known to the victim, and the emotional and physical scars resulting from sexual violence are often severe and long-lasting. And whereas we must work together as a community to support survivors and their significant others, we must encourage each other to speak out against harmful attitudes and actions. And whereas, in recognition of the City of Port Angeles Police Department, it is through their leadership, dedication, and encouragement we can be successful in reducing crimes against citizens. And whereas, as a community, we should encourage individuals to seek the help from those agencies providing services to sexual assault victims. And whereas it's time for all of us to have more conversations regarding sexual violence, increase our awareness, take appropriate action, help victims, heal lives, and support one another to create a safer environment for all. Now, therefore, I, Sissy Bruch, Mayor, on behalf of the City Council of Port Angeles, do hereby declare the month of April 2019 as Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and call upon all citizens of Port Angeles to speak out against sexual violence and to support community efforts to prevent and respond to these crimes. So I'm going to present you this.
Thank you so much.
And please,
appreciate it.
You're quite welcome.
Thank you very much.
And feel free to
Okay.
speak as you need.
All right.
If you must.
First of all, thank you very much, Ms. Mayor and council members. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Hot Shots and the Big C's. A couple of things I wanted to say. Thank you for the proclamation. What a sad turnout for a council meeting. I'm so sorry. But I would like to introduce my staff, who is sitting right there. If you can raise your hands and let people know that you're here. We are small, but we are mighty. And I would like to tell you that sexual assault is not on a decrease, it's on an increase. And this morning we held an awareness and a proclamation at the county commissioners, and we gave out gratitude awards to a couple of deputies at the county commissioners. And I was able to talk about those, and this is public knowledge, and it's the elephant in the room for many people, the law enforcement officers who have abused their privilege and their power. And that does not make the Collin County Sheriff's Office less than a good agency. There are wonderful men and women working there. And I would like to bring up at this city council meeting recognition of what happens to law enforcement officers who are the recognized first responders. This is a depleting crime. It depletes the victims and it depletes those who are answering to those calls. And when you think about the men and women who have to investigate these crimes and look at the child pornography, and they have to interview these children, and they have to hear these stories over and over again, and then the deputy prosecutors who take these cases on, and they, again, same thing over and over again. My staff, they're all really under 20, but that's what's happened to them. This is a difficult, difficult world to work in, and it is a reality. And homelessness breeds sexual and family violence. So you see there's just this big circle of caca that is going through the world. And until we decide to be intolerant, and I come from a generation of drug, sex, rock and roll, tolerate everything, everything's fine, it feels good, do it. We made a big mistake during that era. We made some really good decisions, but we made some mistakes. We have to become an army of intolerant people. So I want you please to appreciate the wear and tear on your law enforcement, the wear and tear on your social service providers. I'm extremely concerned, particularly about law enforcement officers, because this is becoming more and more rampant. We have the Children's Advocacy Center, which in 1 week did, or 1 day, did 3 child interviews, all sexual assault, in a day. This is a picture postcard, peel away the veneer. This is toxic. We've got real, deep, embedded problems in our community. And everyone needs to fight to stop them. So thank you for the recognition. Thank you for your time. And I would like to take 1 more minute and give an award out. But is Ken here from PenCom? No. I don't want to give it out then, he's not here. So I'll be back.
All right.
Thank you so much.
We're glad to have you. All right. Well, we are now at the public comment period. So we've got 2 folks signed up. First one is Susan Pilgrim. So could you please state your name and whether you reside in the city or not?
My name is Susan Hilbert and I live outside of the city. And so I am here today. I read that article in the paper about wanting to fence in the Bell, and I'm just really disappointed that people are thinking that they should fence off things around here, because the homeless are there because they were chased from someplace else. And so then they found a place that has some shelter and garbage can, and they can kind of feel safe there. And sure, there's probably some crazies that are kind of rooting for it, but we're not really working as a city to go and help them. We're not teaching them anything. We're thinking that they know how to take care of themselves. Well, they probably don't. That's probably why they're there. And if we do put a fence up, they're just going to go somewhere else. And so we're going to have to find $17,000 more. And then we're going to have to do that. And that isn't going to fix it. It's not going to fix anything. What's going to fix it is if we decide that compassion is the answer. And not compassion just for homeless, but for our gay community, our Black community, our Native community, our elderly, our mental health. We don't have it. We don't have that compassion, and we need it. We need to show our kids and our grandkids what compassion looks like. It doesn't look like a fence. That's not what you do. You embrace and you teach. You put in the toilet, you put in a trash can. You give them a few dollars and say, I'll give you a $5 food card to keep the place clean today. Make it work. There's lots of ways to answer this, and it doesn't have to be that way. So, anyhow, let's see. There are 2 workshops. There's a workshop on companionship for understanding homeless, April 13th, and a compassion town hall on May 4th. So there's opportunities for all those people who don't understand the homeless. If they really, really want to change Port Angeles and make it better, then they certainly can go there, and that's a beginning. Thank you.
Thank you. And Jasmine Hunt.
Hello, my name is Jasmine Hunt. I live in Port Angeles. Excuse me. The Port Angeles Parks Department motto is to enhance the physical, mental, and spiritual health of all citizens. But the actions of the city in Lions Park on January 3rd and the upcoming trial of Devon Gray, with her being banned from the park, are a cruel punishment of those that have already suffered greatly. Webster's unabridged dictionary defines a ban as an edict of interdiction, prohibition, or proscription to deprive of rights and privileges excommunication, a curse, and to execrate, which means to pronounce a curse upon. Devon sees the city's actions as a willful attempt to exclude her from this community, a community she has cared deeply for. She says she no longer feels safe here where your police are so ready to assault a senior citizen grandmother. Her feeling this way threatens my own housing stability, for she is my roommate and business partner. She has had ongoing detrimental health effects from her arrest, including 6 doctor visits, 2 physical therapy appointments, 2 counseling sessions, and she is experiencing rectal bleeding. I personally love Port Angeles and have most of my life. I find it near impossible to leave. Soon you will certainly be making a proclamation for Earth Day or Arbor Day to display your concern for the environment. This Earth Day, April 22nd, and Arbor Day, April 26th, I want you to remember that the city has caused a caring individual to suffer physically, mentally, and spiritually for caring of our environment and the birds and the trees. Please exonerate Devon Gray now. Lift your curse, let her heal. I would like to finish with a song of healing from Devon, written years ago. I made you a wreath, I hope it eases your grief. Circle, see it going round and round, a token of my affection, a prayer for your protection. I made you a wreath, snow on the mountains, full moon above. I am so secure in your love. Oh yes, I made you a wreath. Circles here going round and round, round and round and round. Oh, oh, oh. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. Anybody else out there who would like to speak to council? Yes, Mr. Lane.
Hi, Ellen Fetchett. I do live in Port Angeles and have for quite a while. So I too saw the article in the paper today and have been participating with a variety of friends, colleagues, and because I work often with people who are homeless. And I was shocked to see that there was a suggestion of building a wall in our town around a beautiful object that I've stood in front of and sang in front of off and on over the years with the anti-war and other kind of events. So what I'm troubled by is wondering who got the idea to build a wall and how much all of you and the community have been involved in discussing it. I saw that there's an attempt to raise funds over the next period of time, as though the decision is already made to have this happen. So that was very scary to think about. I don't think that's a good idea, and I'd highly recommend that there be a broad-based discussion, planning. There's a lot of caring people who would like to help. So that's what I'd like to say today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. Hi, Amy Miller. I live in the city of Port Angeles. Hi, guys. Here to talk about the bill, too. I do understand that there is a Park Commission meeting on the 18th at 6 p.m., which will also provide opportunity for public comment, and then it would be brought to you folks. So this is just my pre-speech. So I just wanted to share with you that I do go to the Veterans Memorial Bell on a daily basis. Sometimes I go there more than once. I'm not always with an officer, but there are a lot of times that I am in my work. We go there, we offer services, and we enforce laws. We pour out beers, we pick up trash, we keep people safe and oftentimes from themselves. We bring people to detox. We issue trespass orders for those who need them. We talk and we listen, we build relationships, we enforce and we intervene. The Bell and places like the Bell serve a purpose. If we build a fence, that purpose will just be found elsewhere, perhaps in front of the Bell until the benches are then taken away, perhaps to the next park or playground where children frequent until a barrier is then erected. The question is really, how many fences are we willing to build? Fencing doesn't seem like the problem to focus on to me. It feels like a bad idea because it continues to make judgments and ostracize some of the people I truly enjoy spending time with. I'd like to see those donations go to treatment solutions. When we push those folks farther into isolation, we, the professionals in the field, lose the opportunity to engage them. It becomes harder to motivate and harder to access care. We all spend time in spaces for different reasons. Some of the purposes that this space has provided that I've witnessed are a sense of community. When one person has a job interview, others will keep an eye on their belongings there. Friendship, there is no judgment, you come as you are. Honor, veterans come to honor their comrades, as do folks who wish to cultivate peace from war. Safety, there's always safety in numbers, and as we know, there is a culture of violence in this community. Shelter, obviously from the rain, from public glares, from name calling, sometimes just from being seen. And a living room for those without their own. This serves as a place to rest, unwind, and connect. There's no other space to do this here. I appreciate that parts of the community are working together to achieve a goal, and that folks are getting involved and having some difficult conversations and acting in a way that expresses their values. I believe that before fences are considered, there are other alternative solutions that would be appropriate. A few of those may be installing a camera that's monitored by the PAPD, much like the ones at the pier, installing additional trash cans so that there's a place to dispose of the items we pick up, installing a Sandy can for $95 a month, which could be sponsored by local nonprofits. And that's my thing. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else who would like to address council? All right. Seeing none, we will move on to late items. I have one late item that was already done this for you guys. It came from Karen Appel, and it is about rural economic development innovation. And if it's okay with you guys, I'd like to put that as under consideration number 3. Is that okay? Mm-hmm. All right. So then, any concerns with the consent agenda before I read it out loud?
Sorry, are we still on the items?
Yes. Well, I'm sorry, I didn't ask. Do anybody else have any other lead items?
Well, I would like to talk about whether to do a public meeting for the MRSC Municipal Research Center webinar, the third part of their utility fiscal management. I don't know if we're going to do that as a late item or.
Just added as other considerations for webinar.
That would be great.
Okay with everybody?
Yeah.
At our last, and then a second possible item at our last meeting, Mayor Brooke asked that our trees be added to our next agenda, which would be today. It's not on the agenda, and so I just want to check that get on at some point, maybe today's for sure, but that was what we were asking.
We had a discussion with the city manager, especially since my area is the one that requested it, and so we will have it at the next agenda. So that's the reason why it's not on here today.
And then in light of the article this morning and the upcoming discussion and comments made today, I wanted to see if we want to have a discussion or at least just an update from the Veterans Parks Subcommittee.
You mean, are they here? You mean adding it to the future agenda, potentially?
It could either be tonight or in the future. I mean, I heard some suggestions about things that we could do. These are things that we discussed back in, I forget when it was that we had a meeting and we talked about the need for a bathroom accessible after business hours at that location. I just want to know if there's an update on where that process is at.
So I would suspect that we probably add it to a future agenda.
I agree, because then we'll get information from the Parks and Rec Commission, and that'll give us more information overall.
That works for me.
Is that fine? Okay, so we'll add that to the next agenda. Any other lead items from anybody?
Madam Mayor, I can speak to it under city manager reports. That might be the most appropriate to do it, but there is a process with that, and I don't want to communicate that the process has been completed prior to our next meeting on that item. It does go through the process of the Parks, Recreation, and Beautification Commission first, and then ultimately comes to City Council. And once they've considered it, we can bring it to the next available meeting. But the April 16th, I am doubtful that that portion of the process will be complete.
Okay, I concur with that. We need to let it complete so we can get full information.
Are we talking about having a stand here, or are we talking about a fence around the Liberty Bell?
I believe the fence, and I can speak again under city manager reports to the restroom aspect, which we can also discuss scheduling for that, but a separate issue.
Okay, so so I guess I'll take care of it during council manager reports, and then whether we add the bathrooms to a future agenda, right? Yep. Because I know that we were supposed to have that discussion of the bathrooms at some point.
Correct, it's already on. I believe on your dice you have a council meetings schedule that I was going to reference and point out some modifications to it under city manager information, and you'll see that that is scheduled as a work session in May.
Right.
Good. Thank you.
Cool, great, thanks, great for that.
All right, so let me read the consent agenda. City council minutes for February 19th to March 5th and City council meetings of February 19th, March 5th, and March 19th, 2019. Approved. Expenditure report from March 9th, 2019 to March 22nd, 2019, in the amount of $2,317,050.91. Final acceptance of the 8th Street Bridge Protective Screening Project, approved. Equipment purchase replacement of wastewater division vehicle number 1652, approved purchase. Equipment purchase replacement of solid waste division vehicle number 4501, approved purchase. Interlocal agreement for energy conservation funds transfer, approved.
Madam Mayor, I would just like to make a comment about item number 3. I don't really need to pull it, but I would like to direct your attention to the bridges estimate came in under cost, under $770,770. It's down to $766,950. And for 10 years, I have been asking the city to take action on this, and I was always told it was way over $1 million. And our Public Works Department, and we had a wonderful construction organization from City of Sequim, so kind of local contractors, but Public Works knocked it out of the park, and our whole community is grateful for the new fencing, and thank you so much. It's just fabulous. So that was my only comment.
Thank you.
I'll be supporting it.
I was going to move that we approve the agenda, that's right.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
Just one question, I was curious about the energy conservation funds and what that covers and what those programs are that the city does.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. These energy conservation funds are the energy conservation programs that we run throughout the city. The WC pumps, the water conservation, the devices that we provide, insulation, heating, cooling management. These are the funds that we will be using these funds for. We have been lower on these funds just because the load that we will be using as a city, electric load is lower than our historic load because of certain loads going away. And the funds that we receive are proportionate to that load, because of which we are going forward with this agreement that we can use this time to get $60,000 from money.
So this is the heat pump subsidies, like low income modernization and commercial modernization. That's cool. Okay, thank you so much.
Any further discussion? Questions? Okay, so all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The consent agenda has been approved. The next item of business is other considerations. Right at City Council chambers discussion. So I brought this inadvertently during council reports, but I am glad to see it during, for this agenda. And what my request was to see if we can get an LWA flag to be in the chambers. We've got 4 flags in this room, and I think that seeing as we are on ancestral lands of the colony people, that we should fly their flag as well. So does that open up for discussion or any comments from other council members? Jim?
Just a couple comments. First of all, it's my opinion that the only flags that should be in the city government offices, i.e. the council chambers, should be jurisdictions that are governance for us. That is the state of Washington and the federal government. And so I would suggest, though, that by selecting just one of our partners, i.e. the LWA, we are then doing a disservice to other partners that we have. And therefore, if we're going to select the LWA flag, I think we also need to consider the Jamestown flag. We also should consider the Coast Guard flag. We should also consider the city of Swin, city of Forks. We should also consider the service organizations that provide such benefit to our city, such as the Rotarians, the Lions, the Elks, and so forth. This is Chamber of Commerce, and also other organizations such as Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. And so if we select one, then I feel that we are insulting, literally, other partners that we have that have done great work and also contributed to our city. I would suggest that if an appropriate place for the LWA flag might be in front of the Carnegie Museum, where they have a wonderful display of LWA history. And so that to me would be an excellent place for it. Again, my personal preference is just to have governance flags in the chambers, because if we don't, then I feel that we will be insulting certain other partners by not offering that display their flags also.
All right, anybody else who would like to pipe in on this subject? Yes.
So when I have some concerns about the exclusivity of just adding the Lower Elwha flag. First of all, I had some questions. Was it requested that we add their flag, and is it reciprocal?
So as to those questions, to answer those questions, no, it was not requested. And as to being reciprocal, I don't think the city's ever given the flag to Lower Elwha, so we haven't asked them to fly ours.
Well, I think then it would be premature, but because I know that we did exchange flags with our sister city, Mutsu, which they prominently display at their city hall, and it was reciprocal. I know that have been told that the Elwha, all in their culture, is they're very proud, independent nation, and I would not want to presume that we would expect them to place the City of Port Angeles flag on their reservation in their city council chambers to be reciprocal, which to me would be most meaningful without their invitation and their permission. So I feel that this would be premature.
I move to request that a flag of the Lower Elwha column tribe be displayed in the city council chamber.
I second and would welcome further discussion.
Any further discussion?
I would just prefer we could discuss it at a later
Well,
date.
point of order, the council member waited until everyone else has spoken on the issue before she speaks first. Thank you.
My only concern is, cultural sensitivity, to make sure that this is something that they would be amenable to. I'm certainly amenable to this idea. I think it was requested in good, in good conscience and for good reason, and I think it would be a great addition for us to do that, so long as that's something that the Lower Alcohol tribe would be accepting of. And forgive my ignorance, is the purple flag our sister city?
Yes.
I see no conflict or insult being given to anyone by not flying a flag. We're certainly not insulting a bunch of organizations by not having a flag gallery here. Like I said, my only issue is I want to be culturally sensitive to the Lower Alcohol tribe. I don't want to be presumptive and say, hey, we're this great city that gets to fly your flag. So I would want there to be a conversation with the Lower Alcohol tribe first.
So to clarify that point, there has been a conversation. They have given us a flag to fly over the building, and they've given us the flag protocol as to how that is supposed to be handled. And I spoke with Wendy because I didn't realize we weren't flying their flag anymore due to the fact that the flag was all frayed. And so she said that she also has, it was under a grant that they had this column everywhere, because this is all part of the column territory, the column everywhere grant, that they were able to get these flags, and so they were able to hand them out. And so their grant person is supposed to be here sometime in the next week or so. So it seemed appropriate to fly here, especially since they were offering to give us the flag. I just need to tell them what size.
That answers my concerns. Thank you.
Okay.
I do see flying their flag as different than other flags, because I don't see that, in my mind, they wouldn't be flying it as a recognition of the partnership so much as it is the recognition of the territory in which we operate. And so I would agree with Mike that to me it would be important that they've said that that's something they're okay with, and it sounds like they are. So if that's the case, then I think I'm comfortable moving forward with that idea.
Anybody else who would like to speak? I know Mike, you spoke. Anybody else like to speak for a second time?
We talk about government-to-government relations a lot, and I think the tribes get the short end of that stick because they need to negotiate with our complex federal system of local, state, and federal governments. And us displaying that flag is a sign of respect, a sign of understanding, a sign of our acknowledgement that Indigenous people have been here and are here and are not just in a museum. And I don't think there's a reciprocity requirement here, nor was there one made in the motion. And I appreciate the mayor bringing this forward and other council members speaking in favor of it. For those council members opposed, I encourage more understanding, whether through books like Shadows of Our Ancestors or Linda Meek's books, or just going down the travel center in the library that is open every weekday. And there's a lot of good literature there or people you can talk to. Thank you.
Anybody else like to speak for a second time?
I would just like to also add that the fact that we can have this conversation, I think, is a testament to the relationship that has been built between our council and their council. And that's a relationship that a lot of people will rely on, to including our staff. And so I think that's something that's noteworthy. I don't think this conversation would have been possible in previous times in our history.
Anybody else? All right, so we have a motion on the table in a second. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No.
No.
Okay, so it is 4-2. It passes.
And then their staff will follow up with the tribe to get the appropriate sizes and ensure that the details are worked out by the Parks and Rec department to get it incorporated in council chambers.
Okay, and so the contact was Wendy. All right, the second item we have is the National Park Service funding support. So in your packets. So we received this request to support the funding for the national parks. And there's been a lot of deferred maintenance to all our national parks. And this is one way to push for this forward. One of the issues, especially for us, that is so meaningful, is that we have a national park in our backyards, and it is incredibly important that it would be maintained. So the request really is for a letter of support to our congressional legislation entitling to restore our parks. So it's the legislation title, Restore Our Parks Act, and its companion bill, Restore Our Parks and Public Land Act. So I open this for discussion to see whether we would like for us to send a letter of support in support of deferred maintenance for our country.
Yes, I read that and the flyer, and it talks about making our parks accessible and showed a picture of Olympic National Park, but there was no background on the actual legislation that we're supporting. And to vote on something, we really need to understand and see the legislation itself. So I did a little bit of research, and I just want to share some information with council members. So it looks like they're asking for $1,300,000,000 for these bills. But out of that, now there are 59 national parks. There's 78 national monuments. So out of the 1,300,000,000, there's a breakdown. If you pull up the bill, there's actually a breakdown, and only 5% of the fund shall be allocated for purposes of addressing the public access and recreation backlog on public land. So just from the flyer, it just looked like there would be more funding for the public to have access to our parks, which I think is very important for us here in Clallam County. But so it's broken down that out of the, got my figures here, of the 1,300,000,000, if you divide that by 59 national parks, so we would get, locally, we would get just a little over $2 million, but then only 5% of that would be used for public access. And then there's a 10%, and 5% of that would be approximately $110,000, and 10% administrative fees. So about $1,300,000,000, 10% is an administrative fee. And also 5% shall be used for the purpose of addressing the Bureau of Indian Education school construction and deferred maintenance backlog as determined by the Secretary of Interior and Director of the Bureau of Indian Education. And I think that's a worthy cause, but that's a separate issue. So $65 million a year are going to be building private schools, and I just feel like that's a worthy cause, but it's under the headline of rebuilding our parks. So I'm sorry they didn't separate those out, because I don't feel that Olympic National Park is really getting enough benefit out of all of these funds. From the flyers, the impression I got was it would really help us. So 80% is allocated for deferred maintenance and infrastructure deficiencies, but only 5% are given to public access and recreation. And I think, hopefully, we would have more. So I'm just concerned about the $130 million administrative fee and the small amount, that the $2 million total, we get less 10% for Olympic National Park. So when I dug into it, I was a little disappointed. It didn't quite meet my expectations. I just think hopefully we would get more, but it doesn't. It's an awful lot of money and a very little benefit to our local park. I was disappointed.
Anybody else? Yes, Jim.
I had the opportunity to also look over the numbers, and I concur with Councilmember Kidd on the breakdown of the numbers. Over $1 billion, and what really trickles down to our little corner of the world is $100,000, $110,000 minus 10% in administration fees. And that's for the entire Olympic Park. That's just not keeping the road to Hurricane Ridge open. So the bill does not do what I think it's advertised as it should be doing. And so I do also have some serious reservations about how the math works out in this, and what we here in Port Angeles will experience as a result of this. And right now I'm a little reluctant to support something that offers so little to us, because we have almost 4 million people that visit our Olympic National Park per year, and to have only $100,000 allocated to allow them access to that park is certainly, to put it mildly, inadequate. Therefore, I'm right now disposed to not support this letter.
So just some misconceptions. I don't think there's two bills. There's a House bill and a Senate bill. They're not necessarily exactly the same. Nothing is decided until it's decided, of course. But this is not $1.3 billion period. It's $1.3 billion allocated. A maximum of $1.3 billion, which, based on what they're saying, will be close to the actual number for each year over 5 years. That's creating a fund that then can be used to do these things, backlogs of rebates and things like that. And likely those projects will be competitively ranked. So it's not like the money is divided equally among all the parks. It's what is the greatest need, what is the greatest benefit, what projects have the lowest impact. There will be rankings. So it's not just $1.3 billion, and we're not just getting $110,000. Number one, that's a bad way to evaluate legislation, no offense, but I want to understand, is the legislation doing a good thing that's needed and useful? Not, does this give my community a bunch of money? I think that, a really good principle to investigate when you're evaluating public policy is veiled ignorance. And in this situation, this is addressing what I think is a pretty major issue. They're redesignating, in many cases, unobligated oil and gas royalties. So that's another, externality that's getting impact. So this is, I think, something that is a reasonable request. What my first concern was, I didn't want to be stepping on a partisan landmine. And this is a clearly bipartisan bill. It's sponsored by the Republican from Utah House. It's sponsored by our Congressman Derek Kilmer, the Democrat from Washington. It's sponsored by Rob Portman from Ohio and Mark Warner from the Democrat from Virginia, as well as an independent congressman from our senator from Maine, Angus Kennington, and a Republican, Omar Alexander from Tennessee. So this has wide bipartisan support. The last time it was introduced, it had a huge number of co-sponsors in the House. So I think this is a totally reasonable letter to write, and I would support it.
I move to authorize the mayor to sign the attached letter in support of the Restore Our Parks and Lands Act.
Second.
Further discussion?
I would just say that I understand the concern of what does or doesn't come to us, and I think it's okay for us occasionally to think bigger than us. And I would agree with Mike on
the potential positive impact across the system, and so us being good community members for supporting all of the communities that are neighbors of national parks and people from our community that go to visit other national parks, I think is okay, and I support it.
And I'd like to pipe in on this one because I do understand that although 5% is used for the public access and recreation, 80% is for deferred maintenance. And there's a lot of deferred maintenance that's happening in our national parks. And those could be whether they're buildings or structures or sewer systems or water systems, all of that deferred maintenance is something that we've got some amazing gems in this country. And so if we can do anything to maintain them, I would support that.
Well, thank you. So I was just given a letter and a flyer, and I couldn't vote on legislation that I hadn't seen. So I did some reading, but honestly, I don't know how much is going to be allocated. I don't know what the priorities are. And so I cannot support something I do not fully understand. And from the information I was given and just trying to go through the legislation, I do not fully understand this. It's very costly. There is a need. I support our national parks. I worked hard to open Hurricane Ridge for 2 years and you know, I totally support our park and national parks, but I have to, when I vote on something, I have to understand what I'm voting for, and I have to explain it. I can't explain this, so that's why I can't vote.
Any other comments?
Well, I agree with the concerns about the administrative overhead, the law ruling, or the lack of single subject rule in the federal government, and the obscurity and lack of transparency in the federal budget. That said, I think it's important that we as a city send a message that we care about the national park, and that is long-term sustainability. Thanks.
And I would add one more thing as to our legislators are supporting this. Patty Murray and Rita Campbell as well. And so I gotta trust them as well, because I know that there's so much in those bills that they add and go through. And so if they are supporting this, I would also like to support them as well.
Just like one last comment. I'm sorry to be parochial about this, but I do feel that it's important that we are concerned about what comes our way. I feel, I understand the altruism embedded in your comments about caring about everything else, the National Park Service, and I agree that the deferred maintenance is something that we should be looking after. I, unfortunately, again, am very parochial in nature, and I think that the numbers just, I don't understand the numbers, how they come. The overhead is too high, and this type of thing. 10% is an outrageous amount for overhead in any kind of legislation. So, for those reasons, my parochial stance on getting what I can for Port Angeles, and also the numbers that are calculated in this bill, with all due respect, Mike, if they just don't work out for me, and granted it's bipartisan, and that's lovely to see because that's a refreshing change for Congress. But on the other hand, it's just not working out for me personally, and again, I'm selfish. I want to get as much as I can for my city, so sorry about that.
All right, any further discussion? All right, we have a motion on the table and a second to send a letter of support for the National Park Service funding. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
It passes 4-2. Thank you, Council. The third thing we're going to talk about is the NODC. So I received this email today requesting that the North London Peninsula Resource Conservation and Development Council, that's now NODC, apply to the USDA Rural Economic Development Innovation Program. And it is for to receive in-depth technical assistance and planning. So their NODC believes that this would be invaluable, especially to its members, partner organizations, and local businesses and community members to address the economic opportunities and challenges in our region. So for that reason, they asked us, and they asked all the partners in NODC to please submit a letter this afternoon. When I sent the first response saying I was going to try to bring it up to council, I think there's another 8 or 10 emails saying we're going to try to do email votes. We're going to try to get all these groups to support this as well. So with that, that's all my questions.
So what is it? They want to receive in-depth technical assistance and planning. Can you explain that? I don't know what that is. What they're getting, what they're asking for, what that means, how it would be. Can you be more detailed? This is the first time I've seen this.
Well, yes.
This is, well, as much as any of us would have at this point, unless someone's been to a meeting and has inside information from being in a discussion about it. The purpose, it says, participation in READY will enable a rural community or region to create an economic development plan that will include 1, evidence-based assessment of community assets, challenges, and opportunities. 2, goals that are focused, logical, targeted, and timely with tasks identified and the entities responsible for carrying these actions clearly delineated. 3, clear planning strategies that are intended to help produce, either directly or indirectly, improvements in the local and regional economy. And 4, metrics to track implementation and ongoing progress of the economic plan. I'm glad I read that out loud because I might have to read it too.
How does this compare with the EDC?
The EDC is one of the partners in the NODC.
Okay, thank you. I'm just trying to figure it out.
Right, I mean, the NODC has all the cities, it's got ports, it's got tribes, economic development, yes, so it's got all the different groups in there.
So, harkening back to our previous discussion, I'm going to be the one to ask the question. How does this benefit us?
Because we are one of the partners.
But we're unlikely to, it's not in our work plan to create an economic development plan necessarily.
No, but the NODC as a regional body can do that. And we as a partner can be included in that overall regional body.
Okay.
So analysis of the things that may need to be done, especially with the opportunity zones that are available here for Port Angeles and all the different areas. And so they're going to try to see what's best from an economic development standpoint, trying to set really strategic points, measurables, and assign partners to them. So we are already a member organization there.
I'm the alternate insurance representative of the city.
Okay. So, I'm just wondering, is there going to be a cost to us in staff time or in?
No, we are, like I said, from us as a member organization, just our attendance to that meeting.
Okay.
And then if there's a project, then we can bring it up and say, can we participate in this project or not?
I apologize. I didn't bring my notes because I didn't expect this to be on the agenda tonight. I did attend a meeting. I am the NODC representative for the City Council. This is an application to the USDA for a grant to study the feasibility of putting together an economic development program for the North Olympic Peninsula, specifically more in the area of rural farming and urban farming and small business development. So we were it was my understanding at the meeting that we were going to be asked, not as a city per se, to send a letter in, but as individuals, because the idea was the effect would be more great if individuals collectively sent it in as opposed to just the individual partners. And again, I apologize, I'm a little without my notes. They let me hide my own Easter eggs, as I said, and so I'm having a little bit of a difficult time putting together the actual thing without my meeting notes. So this is not an expense item for us. It's just supporting the NODC's application to the United States Department of Agriculture for a grant to begin a study as to what type of economic developments would work best for our communities out here.
So I support that.
Thank you for the clarification, despite your notes. I feel like I have a better handle.
I'm sure that was clear as mud, right?
So I'll move to authorize the mayor to sign a letter supporting the application of Northern Peninsula Resource Conservation Development Council, NODC, to the USDA Rural Economic Development Initiative Program.
Second.
All right, we got a motion on the table in a second. Any further discussion?
I have a quick question for Jim. I don't know if Jim's the right person, it seems like maybe. If you're correct that individual letters are also requested, would you be willing to email that to us so that we could individually also write letters?
So we got it. Just follow that.
This is the format that's
Just use this.
If you notice,
Okay.
this is not really from the mayor or of a city. It just, it would be Kate Dexter, council member.
Yeah,
and so this is the actual letter that Karen put together for support.
So my question was if you could just, if your notes corroborate that and that they would also, in addition to this, appreciate individual letters, if you could let us know, then we could quickly put that.
I'd be happy to do that.
Thank you.
Because I think these are all due on the 5th.
Yes, the application's due by the 5th, so we probably need to get them for that.
All right, any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes unanimously. All right, the last item we have is the webinar, the MRSC. So Lindsay, I'm going to leave that one to you.
Thanks. So the Municipal Research Service Center has been doing a 3-part series on utility fiscal management. The first one happened during the affectionately Snowmageddon event. So I definitely missed it. And I imagine most people did. The second one was recent, and while the city was registered, we didn't get it out as a meeting. The third one is coming up on May 2nd from 11 a.m. to noon. I'd like to ask that we do that as a public meeting, as we've done with some of the MRC's past webinars. I think it's particularly timely because we are talking about our cost of service assessments. We're talking about our overall methods for how we do utility billing, and all of this is happening now. So I think the timing of this webinar series is very appropriate, and we do have the recordings to be able to do part 1 and part 2. Not live, obviously, but more or less the same. And so I just want to make sure this is something that we can get on our agenda.
I like the idea of having it open. I haven't been able to attend all of them, but once I have, I appreciate watching them with the group so that we can say, oh, hey, that's interesting, and how does that apply to us? I think it makes it a little more meaningful to be able to watch them together when that's possible. And I like the idea of opening it up. I know it takes a little more staff time, so I want to be cognizant of that. But I think we've had some people who've come to a couple of them, and it's kind of nice to do it that way.
Did I say that it was May the 2nd?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
And so would it be worthwhile watching the first 2 that we missed? Like it's beginning at 10, from 10 to 11, and then 11 to 12, and then watching the live one, and then we get all 3 together at once, and then we're done?
It'll be like a new season of Sean.
Yes.
Who's going to bring the popcorn? Right, so long.
You know, right. So, I mean, if that works for folks, we can do that 10 to 1, so that way we get all the parts. We can make it great, but at least it'll be open to the public, that we're going to go through all the utility things.
Yeah.
that's on the bookend?
Logistically, is that possible?
My recollection is each of them were approximately 1 hour long, and knowing that probably a portion of that time was Q&A, that probably we could fit the 3 into a 2 hour period, and if not, we'll add some of it to the end. But again, it's important to me that we make sure we've got consensus support to move forward with that, so that we actually advertise notice the meeting and ultimately make it happen if that's council's desire.
Do we have consensus to do
I like the idea.
those 3 of them in once?
Well, let's just do it as a motion. So I'll move to direct staff to schedule a special council meeting and utility advisory council meeting on May 2nd from 11 a.m. until concluding the first and second webinar. For the purpose of watching the third part of the MRC webinar live and the first and second part recorded on utility fiscal management.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Yes, John.
Not so much a discussion as just an observation. I will be out of town that day, actually for that week, and so whereas I support this, I feel it's my obligation to abstain on this vote because I will not be able to participate physically in this, and so please understand I'm not voting against it. I just feel it's appropriate for me not to vote because I won't be here.
You don't want to call in while you're on vacation?
I will be at sea.
Okay, fair enough, fair enough.
Actually, on May the 2nd, I'm in charge of the Community Service Awards setup, and it's an all-day stressful putting together something for a large community event. So I won't be here, I'll be busy.
May 2nd is my son's birthday, I'll be in the webinar. He'll be at school, he doesn't.
He'll be at school. All right, so we have a motion from the table in a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we got 2 abstentions. All right, that leads us to council reports. Councilmember Kidd, so.
Well, I have to give the 2 thumbs up award to community development and economic development because of a very special baby arriving. We're short-staffed and they are overloaded. We have the William Shore Pool, we have Boys and Girls Club, we have McKinley, we have a busy group. And I just kind of feel like they're shouldering the load and plus all the things I don't even know about. So I just wanted to thank community development and for all of their hard work because it comes in waves, and I think we've got a tidal wave, and they're slogging through it, and I'm just really proud of our staff. So that's my report. Thank you.
I had the opportunity last Sunday to be the welcome speaker as the vice chair of Clallam Transit for the Clallam Transit Safety Awards ceremony. So a lot of really great driving happening there and maintenance. Anyway, they're a safe organization, so that was nice to be a part of. Then I left for CTAC and went to the Rural Health Conference, which actually I think had a lot of practical application for some of the things happening in our community. So I felt like I was wearing as much my council hat as I was my work hat. And then came back and did some CERT training at the college. So I took out my backpack and my hard hat. And had some thoughts about what we could do as a city around that as well. That's all.
So with council required, our Deputy Mayor Dexter, I attended a conference board meeting a couple weeks ago, also along with Manager West and Councilmember Moran and Councilmember French. I went to the EAC lobby day and not to take all the fire from your reports on that, it was the day that the House budget came out, and so it was kind of a horse race day. But one of the things that took away from that, I think this was from hearing one of the state representatives speak, was that in my mental model for the housing crisis, I think it's valuable to separate homelessness and chronic homelessness. So in that model, I think about this point 4 layers. So there's available housing, and that's an issue. And I came from the director of the court when we were having a conversation. She said, it's not just affordable housing, it's available housing. And those are separate issues to some extent. The second issue that is affordable housing is the housing that we have affordable. Of course, these things are intertwined. The third is homelessness, that when housing is not affordable, people are homeless. There's data that suggests that in a rural area like ours, for every $100 per month increase in the price of rent, the rate of homelessness goes up 32%. And then there's, and I'm not sure if it's valuable to separate out, but chronic homelessness, people who are dealing often with mental health issues and aren't, like many people who are experiencing homelessness, able to hold down a job in a way that would pay for affordable housing. And the problems that folks there are facing are different, and often those are the things that we as a community as a whole see. I mean, the article in the paper this morning, and the issue that is going to come before us around the Veterans Park and the Africa Liberty Bell there is something that that intersects on those issues. One of the things I did last week following University Live Days was attend the Peninsula Behavioral Health Mental Health First Aid class, and it was amazing, and I highly recommend it. I asked if we could get some copies of it, and then I'll share kind of what it's about. So, like, I guess, first aid class, it's dealing with what you do in a mental health emergency to help keep somebody alive. It's got its own acronym, just like ABC, airway, breathing, circulation for first aid. But it's dealing with the mental health issues. And for me, I've never had to do CPR, and I'm fortunate in that way. But there have been a couple times in my life when people would still be alive if I knew how to properly care for somebody in a mental health first aid context. And so in terms of the practical nature of us living in a world where there's a lot of mental health issues, I think it's a really valuable course. So it's free, and just behavioral health funding is one of the county to do it, and there's 4 more dates for the regular class, which is June 4th, August 29th, and October 14th. They're all-day classes. And then I'm also doing a class for youth mental health first aid, and that's got 3 days as well, May 16th, July 23rd, September 10th. And that's more for those who work more with youth and teens and children. So I would just really recommend it. I've done a lot of first aid classes. I've never done a mental health first aid class, and I think it would be valuable for us just in our personal lives, for us as public servants, to take a leadership role in this, for people just in general. I know for our staff, we often deal with people coming to City Hall who need this kind of response. I imagine a lot of public safety officials are going through some of this stuff as well. And I think one of the things that I took away from it as well is that it deals with our social understanding of the stigmas of mental health. And that goes a long way, because so much of this is something that we as a society need to learn how to do a better job taking care of people. So I encourage people to do that, and the RSVPs on that page there at Peninsula Behavioral Health. So a big shout out for doing that. Another thing coming up, which was mentioned during public comment, is on April 13th, this companionship workshop that Ingrid Carmine has organized. And that's about caring for people in our community experiencing homelessness. And it's, again, skills oriented and something that I think anyone who's interested in addressing these issues would benefit from. It's Saturday, April 13th, 9 a.m. to noon at Holy Trinity Lutheran Church. Tomorrow I plan to attend a webinar by the United States Interagency Council on Homelessness. It's at 9 a.m. our time. And it's on aligning affordable housing efforts with actions to end homelessness. I think it's particularly relevant for us as we wrestle with some of these issues. U.S. Interagency Council on Homelessness has been putting out a lot of stuff that I consider to be very valuable on these issues. And finally, I just want to highlight the concept of Build for Zero. And this is an initiative that I think 70 cities throughout the U.S. I was looking at the map earlier today, and they even just overlay Alaska over Washington, because apparently nobody in Washington is part of it through the Community Solutions organization that is coordinating it. But just from their website, they say homelessness is a solvable problem that has lost its sense of urgency. Build for Zero is a rigorous national change effort designed to help forward with committed U.S. communities end chronic and veteran homelessness. And some of these cities have done this. A number of them have ended veteran homelessness, meaning that while somebody might become homeless, they very quickly get rehoused. Right? He said, we're not going to have a veteran on our streets homeless, period. That's unacceptable in our community. And they've done it. A number of cities have also ended homelessness, meaning they reach functional zero for homelessness for everybody. That doesn't mean that somebody doesn't go homeless into a support system, but they very quickly get out of that shelter system and go into permanent housing. We have a lot of the tools to do this. I think we as a city are one of the leaders in this through our police department, through our fire department. And I think throughout the county there's a lot of interest in ending homelessness. We need to do it. And there's tools out there. They're not extra resources. It's not like let's go get some more money and if we only have this extra resource we can do it. It's working together, it's coordinating together, it's saying who are the people who need help and how do we help that person as an individual based on their particular needs. And with the leadership that we've been doing, Amy's in the room, we've got the police, we've got the fire in the room. Let's get these other organizations off their ducks and work together so that we can end homelessness in Los Angeles and in Collin County. I think the Build for Zero program is worth looking at as a data-intensive, proven best practice for how to do that. And let's stop blaming others for it. Let's stop saying we don't have the resources to do it. Let's do it.
Thank you.
That was great. Just a little not so fun fact to tag on to what Liz was saying. I was reading an opinion piece by Mike Krowski, who works for the Opportunity Starts at Home campaign, which is a campaign about housing. And since 1960, renters' incomes have increased by 5%, while rents have risen 61%. So this is a big problem. There's going to be I really welcome research into Build for Zero, initiative to see what are the things we can do locally, but there's also a lot we need to do on a national level, so we need to start being advocates for, the people that are doing our work at the national level, like our congressional representatives. Okay, so I was also at the AWC Lobbying Day. It was a really great experience. It was my first AWC event since I'm always busy with my job, and it was really just a great event. I was thrilled with the meetings that we got to have with our legislators, and I was really impressed by the AWC staff. They were all very, very well prepared and educated and interesting. So I didn't have a ton of meetings the last time. I was looking through my calendar, and I just didn't have a ton of meetings. I don't know how that happened, but the one that I did go to today was the Homelessness Task Force. I was able to finally turn in my application to the county, which was a laborious 6-page document that required references, and the thing that is funny to me, I've been a small business owner for a decade, I don't have a resume. I don't have references, so that was a process, and I had to get a page notarized. Anyways, that's all done. I apologize for emails that people might have gotten about that. And the meeting today was, unfortunately, mostly about bylaws and procedures and things, and not a lot of discussion about homelessness. But the task force will be updated in County 5-year plan to end homelessness, so that's going to be a really relevant process that we're going to be going through over the course of this next year. And yeah, like I said, not much else in my thing, so there we go.
Jim?
The only thing I would really like to report is congratulating the Boys and Girls Club for a tremendous breakfast on Friday. It was very successful. It looked like they had about over 400 people in the Burton. And so they're well on their way to getting the Boys and Girls Club built in our town, a tremendous asset. Thank you.
And I really don't have a real report. Everything in committees are slowly sliding through, nothing really exciting to report, so we'll skip that. City manager report.
Madam Mayor and Council, just a couple items to mention to you this evening. I do want to draw your attention to the City Council meeting schedule for 2019 to 2020. And that lists a number of important meetings coming up, as well as a number of items that are coming up on the calendar. Specifically, I want to highlight next week's April 9th. It's a UAC meeting where we would very much appreciate if all of council could attend that meeting, and that we are working through the wastewater and stormwater components of our utilities at that meeting. So that will be a work session for UAC, but we very much like all of council to attend that meeting. And that starts at 3 p.m. on Tuesday the 9th in council chambers.
Mr. West, we received an email that it is 5 to 7, so
Just to clarify, I think that's the April 23rd electric cost of service analysis.
Was I incorrect?
So I believe we have an update to provide you, but I believe the correct time for next week on the 9th is 3 to 5.
Okay.
And then there is an upcoming electric COSA meeting on April 29th, which would be from 5 to 7 p.m. at the council work session time. So I apologize for the confusion there.
Thank you.
23rd or 29th?
23rd.
The 23rd of April. In addition to that, council, I want to highlight a question came up earlier. We did relocate the restroom work session, which was previously before the April 16th meeting. We need some additional time on that item, and we relocated that to the May 21st council meeting, anticipating a 1-hour work session prior to the May 21st meeting. Additionally, I wanted to share with council that we do have an upcoming Association of Washington Cities conference in Spokane from June 25th through June 28th. Staff would recommend that council pick up to 3 individuals from council to represent council at that conference, and we wanted to go ahead and start that discussion tonight and see who has interest and might have availability for those time frames, June 25th through June 28th, again in Spokane, Washington. And that does conclude what I have for this evening. Certainly we're going to do follow through on a couple of items from this evening, including connecting with Wendy Sampson at the Lower All College Drive, ensuring that we get the right flag incorporated here in council chambers, as well as follow through with a number of the letters that were authorized this evening, and setting up the webinar on May 2nd for all 3 of those MRSC workshops. So thank you very much, council.
Council, can anybody attend this AWC conference? And who would like to do that?
I would like to. I would need to double check that I can, but I don't see any particular scheduling conflict. I don't have a scheduling conflict off the top of my head. Certainly not from work.
I would like to attend as well.
My attendance would depend on work availability, but I would be interested if no one else. But I would offer it to someone else first.
And I know that I've got it on my calendar, but I could also be a backup because I have attended those and I've seen plenty of time. And they're really, really interested and they usually have some really good things. But I would prefer the newer council members to attend.
I am not available those days. I have several out-of-town appointments. One is a family gathering, so I unfortunately am not available for those days.
So, am I the 3rd? I'll put it down, June 25 or 29.
And should you not be able to do it, then I can
Okay.
back to that.
I wanted to ask about this council meeting calendar. Previously, we discussed, and it was over email, we scheduled on May 14th, utility advisory committee meeting and that be a joint meeting with the council on rate method recommendation. We don't see that on the piece of paper for May 14th, which is on the paper, it's a solid risk cursor review. I just want to check on where that's at.
Thank you for pointing that out. I would say one of the things that you will notice in this schedule as compared to the last one is that we reshuffled the utility advisory committee utility rate discussion items based on, I believe we had one earlier cancellation due to weather, and then we had an additional cancellation due to an illness on staff. And so we basically re-racked the whole schedule, and that's why you see the difference in change. But it is our intent to still fit that in, but we want to get through all the utilities first. So, and hopefully this further answers your question, but on May 14th, there will continue to be a utility advisory committee meeting to discuss utilities where we would still very much like council to participate in its entirety.
So, the rate methodology conversation is gonna happen when?
It's on the 21st. One of the dots is on the 21st. May 21st, sorry.
May 21st is currently scheduled as the council action on that. So we may see if we can still fit it in with the solid waste conversation on the 14th.
Okay.
It may still happen on the 14th.
To put it ahead of it.
Okay, thank you. All right, any other reports?
Not at this point.
All right, so we are on to.
I just want to add one more thing. I forgot to mention this during my council report, but I just want to read the inscription that's on the Liberty Bell. And this is from the National Park Service website. Proclaim liberty throughout all the land unto all the inhabitants thereof.
All right, so we are on to the second public comment period. Is anybody out there in the audience who would like to come and speak to council on any topic whatsoever? Come on up. We would love to hear from you. All right. No one is interested. Well, in that case, that ends our public comment period.
I move that we adjourn, please.
Second. We are adjourned. So I guess we don't need to have a motion if we pursue that agenda. So we are adjourned. So, thank you very much.